think we're live. I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know where to see the chat. It looks like we're live. Hi. I don't know if anyone else is here. I'm in my backyard. Comment moderation. I don't know if that will work. Anyway, hi folks. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It's only the second time I've done one of these live video things, and it's a bit of a learning curve. Anyway, it's June 10th. It's a Wednesday. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon, 5:37 or so in the afternoon, and it's a week officially into our Permission to Land VIP launch team experiment. It's Wednesday, so it's Meaningful Wednesday, and I had a very clear idea about what I wanted to say in this video last night before I went to bed, and as things have evolved today, my plan is more amorphous, and I feel like I've been derailed. I wanted to talk about how we derive meaning and what brings meaning to our lives, and really what our lives themselves mean. And for each of us, it's going to be a different thing. I found out early this morning that a current student of mine's mom passed away. And I don't know if it was COVID-19 or whatever it was, and I will never know, but I lost my mother 6 years ago, and I was in my 40s, and she was 69, and I wasn't prepared. You know, we hadn't spoken for 18 months prior to her death because of her drug addiction and who she became because of that. So I didn't get any closure. I had to find closure myself afterward, which I wrote extensively about in my book, in Permission to Land, and did a video of me reading that chapter that's on my YouTube channel that I'll share again today. But I wasn't 17. I was 40 something, and whereas I think it's easier to understand or deal with as an adult, the little girl inside me was still pissed, you know, and I've still mourn for her. It's not acute like it was in 2013, but in some respects every day I still mourn the loss of what our relationship could have been as I got older, and mourn the connection and relationship she would have had with my children, her grandkids, and my new husband, and my stepchildren, and the step-grandchildren, and all of that. And for this young woman now at 17, actually she could be 16, I don't know exactly when her birthday is, she's going to have so many more of those moments that are missing. And my heart is broken for her. And so many families that have been unfortunately touched by the pandemic and everything else that's going on around the country, all of the families that have been fractured and heartbroken because of all of the unnecessary murders of Black people and families and so on. And that's why it's so vitally important for all of us to get involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, the anti-racist movement, and talk about it constantly, and really make sure that we end this now. It's about time. It's 2020. Let's get on with it. This country's for all of us. The other thing that derailed me this morning was a photograph of another high school friend of mine as an infant with her mother. The sun is in my eyes. And maybe that's a little better. And the picture reminded me of a photograph that was taken in 1968 with me as an infant in my mother's arms. And I posted that on Facebook and in the VIP launch team and on my Instagram this morning with a little sort of explanation about where my head was. And you know, you look at that picture and it's my mom. She's 24. And she was young and beautiful and had seemingly her whole world open to her. You know, she had been married a few years, she had a newborn daughter, she had a house, she could have done anything with her life that she chose to. And I think she struggled for a very long time to find meaning in her own life, whether it was to start a business or get involved in charity groups or volunteer or all these other things that she at times really seemed motivated to do and yet couldn't get out of her own way for a variety of reasons. And her mental illness and her addiction and all that stuff really got in the way. And I feel bad about that. I mean, not that it's something that I could have controlled or had any input in whatsoever as the kid, but so many of us struggle with how we find meaning in our lives and are easily derailed by other people's expectations or our own mental health or finances or family or people telling us that we can't do it or not having the knowledge or wherewithal to find opportunities or to create them for ourselves. And she died before she could do half the things that she thought at some point that she wanted to do and then didn't get to. This is turning out to be extremely depressing. I don't even know if anybody else is listening or if anybody else is here. I can't figure out how to do the comment thing, if there's a chat or if anybody is in here. And I'm afraid to click on things because I don't know what I'm going to lose. I really have to play with this more and figure out how to do this. Oh, look, here's the chat. But I don't know if anybody else is here. Anyway, how do you find meaning? What makes you happy? What makes you feel good about yourself? What kinds of things bring you joy and get you out of your head? You know, so many of us get stuck in our heads, and I know my head is always going. It's like a little combination of a habit trail and a roller coaster going on in there sometimes. You know, I was talking about it with my daughter earlier today, and I kind of feel like if I imagine my brain as a web browser, this is kind of a common metaphor, but I kind of feel like I have 48 tabs open on the top of my web browser across the top, and I don't know what I'm looking at. You know, my brain's getting hacked by other things, and you know, meditation and writing and sometimes a drink calms you down, closes some of the tabs, makes it easier. Anyway, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point. But I want to hear from you guys. What are you thinking? What's going on in your worlds? What meaningful experiences have taken hold of your souls lately, taken hold of your brain, made you think about things differently? I think it's important. Yesterday I was writing a lot about journaling. I had read an article about expressive writing being good for your soul, being good for your psyche, being good for reducing stress level and reducing inflammation in your body and increasing your immunity and ridding us of anxiety and helping us sleep better, and all of these things that I have known intuitively for years I found all of these studies showing how scientifically all this stuff is proven to be effective. And I've been writing in my journals for 35 years now. 35 years, since I was a teenager, 14, 15 years old. And writing has helped me process all of the trauma that I went through with my mom. You know, she was bipolar with lots more lows than highs, and every time she would get angry or she would get frustrated and she'd start cursing or screaming or banging doors or whatever, I felt like it was my fault. 99.99999% of the time, it was not my fault and had nothing to do with me. There was nothing that I could have done to fix it. There's nothing I could have done to mitigate it. There was nothing that I could have done to make her feel better. And yet I felt compelled to try. I felt like it was my fault that she felt that way. And so writing about these things, I didn't know it at the time. It just seemed like the only thing I could do because I had no one to talk to. So I talked to myself in a book. But it helped me. It helped me process what I was reading, what I was feeling. And then I'd go back at some point later, whether it was later that day or the next day or a month later or years later, and reread what I wrote. And sometimes, weirdly enough, it felt like I had never read that before. That somehow it went from my brain out my hand without going through my consciousness. Don't ask me how that happens. And other times I would remember having written it, and then I would go, I see a pattern here. Look what I did a month ago. Look what I did 2 months ago. Look what I did 6 months ago. Look what I did 2 years ago. All of these things are the same. I'm looking for love. I'm looking for acceptance. I'm looking for safety. I'm scared. I don't know who to trust. I feel like I have nobody to turn to. You know, all of those things that were absolutely true, that were part of my childhood, imprinted themselves on me. And over the course of writing about them for 35 years, it helped me heal and process. You know, like you name something, you can describe it. You can call it vulnerability. You can call it being afraid of not being safe, being afraid of being yelled at, being put down. You can call it whatever you want to call it, all of those myriad of things that happen to us that touch our souls and our psyches. But how do you take the power out of it? How do you say, okay, somebody called me a name, or somebody's having a fight, or somebody is doing whatever it is they're doing, and that's their behavior. How do you separate that from who you are? Those things say more about them than they say about you. In fact, they say nothing about you. They say only things about them. And yet, when we're young especially, we're affected by it. It hurts us. And over and over and over again, each of these hurts result in trauma that then imprint themselves on who we are and our relationships. There's no way that it can't. It just does that. And dealing with this with my mom for so many years imprinted itself on the way that I handled other relationships, the way I handled friendships, the way I handled relationships with my family, and especially the way I handled romantic relationships. Almost every single time that I've ever gotten involved with anybody, until my husband Michael now, has been from a place of deficit, a place of hurt, a place of scared, negative vulnerability. That relationship was possible because I sublimated myself, because I really ultimately didn't get that I was worthy of love and belonging and love and acceptance and respect, and that I didn't have to compromise who I was in order to get it. I want you to think about your relationships. Do you do that within yourself? I didn't figure out what I was doing. I'm going to walk away here. Yeah, let's take a walk. I didn't realize what I was doing with regards to that until I was in my mid-40s and I was dating. I was single for 10 years in between the two marriages, and when I was dating, it's a little quieter on this side of the yard. When I was dating, I was looking at all of the people that I was dating, and I was trying to form myself in an image that I thought they would like, in an image that would make me attractive. And that's really kind of the ass backwards way of doing it. Yeah, you want people to like you, and yeah, you want people to find you attractive, but the most important thing there was to like who I am when I was with those people. I'm going to say that again. It's really more important for you, let's change the pronoun, for you to like you, the version of you that you get to be with that other person, than it is for them to like you. Because ultimately you can never get away from yourself, and you're the one that has to live with you for the rest of your life. So if you're with somebody, or you're, God forbid, married to somebody with whom you can't be yourself, then who are you? Then everything that you have is a lie. Then they're not involved with you, actually. They're involved with somebody else, and you're going to eventually become resentful because you don't get to be who you want to be, or who you actually are. And who you actually are is pretty damn freaking amazing. And you are deserving of love, and you are deserving of respect, and you are deserving of being safe and being adored because of who you are. You are a beautiful person with an extraordinary, generous, and giving and kind heart. I know this because otherwise you wouldn't be here in this group. You wouldn't be here listening to this video right now. You wouldn't be here being friends with me and supporting me through this journey if you weren't like that. Anyway, I digress, and I've been chatting away here for almost 14 minutes. I don't want to take more of your time. No one likes long videos. But I'd like to keep this conversation going. Tell me how you feel about anything that I've said. Tell me about how you're doing as the states are opening up with this pandemic. Tell me how your friends and your family are doing. Tell me how you derive meaning in your life. Tell me how you've learned and grown with yourself over the experiences that you've had in your life, maybe even in the last few months. Tell us about writing. Do you keep a journal? Has a journal helped you? Do you feel like expressive writing has helped you make a connection with yourself and make peace with the things that are going on in your life? And that's kind of it. I have a kitten inside the sunroom over here, meowing her little face off, wanting to come outside, but alas, poor kitten does not get to come out. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for now. It's been 15 minutes exactly, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. Your time is too meaningful for me to keep talking and yammering away on a video. Anyway, thank you very much for staying tuned and for joining me on this little conversation, and ultimately this Permission to Land journey of getting this book out there. And I'm really just super grateful and humbled that so many of you are joining this group and so many of you are pre-ordering my book. I'm really blown away. I put my heart and soul into this, and I know that it's going to be of benefit to others, which is really the whole reason for telling my story. I mean, if it was for me, I could have just written it and kept it for myself as the cathartic experience that it was, but I really feel like so many people will be able to benefit from the experiential narrative of my journey and what I've learned. I think it's beneficial to all of us. Anyway, I love you all, and I will see you soon. Have a good evening.